This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Scott, let me ask you something. Are you much of a Don Henley fan?
Sure.
Are you much of a Tom Petty fan?
A gigantic Tom Petty fan.
All right, listen to this. I had no idea. All right. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers guitarist Mike Campbell.
Legend.
Yeah. Okay. He wrote The Boys of Summer. Did you know that?
I did know that. Yeah, Petty decided he didn't want to record it.
Yeah. So while experimenting with the Lynn drum machine, he showed it to Tom Petty, but they felt it did not fit with the record that they were working on, Southern Accents. He then gave it to Don Henley, and the rest is history.
Wow, classic song, man. Yeah, counting those Deadhead stickers on Cadillacs.
Yep.
We're all getting old.
Yep. Tell you, I just saw that right now. I follow this guy Eric Alper on Twitter, and he's always
great.
got all,
yeah, he's fantastic. Great music. Yeah. A mandatory music follow.
Right, exactly. I'm a big music nut, so he always comes up with something, and I always love to find out about music facts and stats and all kinds of stuff. And
I love the genesis of anything. The documentary on the Eagles is outstanding, by the way.
That's the greatest rockumentary ever.
It's one of them. It's one of them. The Laurel Canyon documentary is really good. Obviously, the Beatles just had that monster one that came out about a year ago or so.
Well, that one comes close, because what I loved about the Eagles rockumentary is that they had so much video and pictures of their entire freaking history that it's so rare to get that. Instead of somebody normally just telling you what happened, and maybe they show a still picture or something, these dudes filmed almost everything that they did. It was all documented. And to me, that's what took that Eagles rockumentary, over the top, especially when they're showing the Glenn Fry and Fingers, argument on stage that I'm going to effing kill you and all that.
Right. Yeah. Famous. Every band has an arc where it feels like the band is unstoppable and then the bands don't last. And the rules were different for journalism back then. I'm also a huge fan of Almost Famous, and Jim Miller, the great journalist, did a multi-series podcast on Almost Famous. It's like 5 or 6 hours, all about the genesis of it, who was supposed to be in certain roles and all that stuff. Cameron Crowe, when he did a story on the Eagles once, he lived with the band when they were recording one of their albums. He lived with them for like a month. That would never happen today.
No
Bob Ryan, the great, I'll take it back to sports for a second. When Bob Ryan was covering the 1976 NBA Finals, he was friends with Paul Westphal, who had previously been on the Celtics, with at that time on the Phoenix Suns. When the series moved to Phoenix, Bob Ryan stayed at Paul Westphal's house. Can you imagine that today? That would never happen. No. You imagine like Adam Schefter, bunking up with Tua or
no shot.
Jalen Waddle. That would never happen.
No, listen, dude. I've been going to the Senior Bowl for 20-something years now. And, one of the places where I used to meet some scouts and coaches and assistant coaches was Sammy's. And Sammy's is a strip club. Okay. Now, remember, I've been going there for 23 years now, right? So 20 years ago, 18 years ago, 15 years ago, what didn't we have? We didn't have phones. And we didn't have cameras in our phones and all that kind of stuff. Now, when you go to the Senior Bowl, now when you go to the Combine, now when you go to the East-West Shrine game, guys won't go to any questionable places. And when they go out to bars, they try to find nooks and crannies and corners that they can't take even pictures of them just having a drink in their hand.
Yeah, it's a different time. Think of the way it was when Mickey Mantle lived, right? I mean, where the media knew what was going on but didn't report it. And we just live in such a different era now where it's a lot of gotcha out there, right? People just want to look at you in a bad light and try to take you down. So,
dude, I saw coaches and assistant coaches and scouts and whatever, and, getting dances and going into the champagne room. And as Chris Rock would say, there is no sex in the champagne room, So, things, and, you just, it's not something that I didn't care about that, dude. I want to report if you're getting drafted or you're getting cut or you're getting traded or you're starting or whatever. That's all I give a shit about. I don't care about your personal life, bro. Your personal life is your personal life. But in today's world, forget about it, dude. Yeah, you're right. Those days are done, man.
Sure. Absolutely. Much different time.
They are very
I
protected.
will say this though, I do want to get you in the champagne room of fantasy football. So let's try to give out some top notch, Sagat rated fantasy advice to the people out there.
So does Aaron Jones play this week? If not, do I start A.J. Dillon is being asked.
I hope Jones plays. I don't trust Dillon. Dillon hasn't had double-digit points since week 1, and the Packers are underdogs again. Dillon is not a great pass receiver. I don't know what else is on your roster, but it's not – we would have thought before the season any game Jones didn't play, Dillon is an auto start. I don't feel that way right now.
Okay. Need one PPR, Juju, Palmer, Watson, or Campbell?
Juju if he goes, just because he's tied to Mahomes. Yeah, if you can't go that route, then I'd be fine with Watson, who has 5 touchdowns in 2 games. Finally, somebody in the circle of trust in Green Bay.
So let me ask you something. Let me spin it this week. You got to start Tyreek. You got to start Waddle every single week, right?
Mm-hmm.
How concerned are you this week that they'll just make it the Jeff Wilson show? Because Mostert now was just declared kind of a Coach McDaniel just said it's going to be an uphill battle for him to play. So the Jeff Wilson show, that's going to be, I mean, if you have Jeff Wilson, I think he turns into almost a number 1 this week. I know that's kind of loose. He really should be a number 2 this week, but you're playing against Houston, the worst rush defense out there. Mm-hmm. I'm sure the backup running backs will probably get some play here. How much passing are you going to do, right? It's like you're almost nervous. Like you have to start Tyreek, but I don't know if you're going to get the regular Tyreek production this week.
Yeah, it could easily be a game where Tua throws 25 passes or fewer. And I agree with you. Unless you're absolutely loaded at the running back position, you would play Jeff Wilson. Miami about, 14-point favorite. Backup quarterback, too. That's the other thing. For fantasy, when you start an offensive player, you would like the other team to fight back a little bit. But does Houston have any fight back? Maybe this could easily be this game could get out of hand very quickly. So, yes, you have to play Waddle and you have to play Hill. And I think you even have to play Tua. But it's going to be a case where I think they throw about 25 passes. And Wilson, unless you're absolutely loaded, I'm just going to agree with everything you said. Unless you're absolutely loaded in the backfield, Jeff Wilson's in your lineup this week.
Yeah, and I know, God, you got to play Tyreek, man, but I would not be surprised if Tyreek or Waddle put up pedestrian numbers.
What else can hurt you in a game like this, Big O, is that if the defense scores a touchdown, because then you lose the possession, right? Like say the backup quarterback throws some awful pass in the flat, somebody picks it, takes it back. Now the game has gotten closer to people being pulled, and you didn't even get an offensive possession out of it.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy, dude. All right. Fantasy question here. Pick 2. Mike Evans, Jamar Chase, or Jonathan Taylor?
Because you're so blessed with options, I would make Chase give me the prove it week. He's just missed a lot of time. We're not sure he's going to play. Could be on a limited snap count. Taylor looks reborn. Jeff Saturday, right? They won the first game, and they easily could have beaten Philadelphia last week, and Tampa Bay off a bye. I would think Evans is a good play. Look, if you want to play Chase over Evans, I don't have a problem with it. You have to play Taylor.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. You look at what's it called? Tight ends this week. Mm-hmm. Give me a sleeper tight end in this week's matchups.
Logan Thomas, 5 catches, I believe, last week. Heineke likes him. He's been endorsed as the starter the rest of the year. And even though the Saints get the Niners and the Niners swallow up the tight end, the way Juwan Johnson is getting used in the red zone, he's got decent touchdown equity. So there's a couple of guys that I've looked at. I'll say this too. I know he's only going to get 3 or 4 targets. I would actually be okay to play Gesicki too. I think Gesicki has maybe a 20% chance of scoring a touchdown this week.
Wow. Really?
Tight end's awful. Tight end every week. It was Pitts last week. The week before it was Ertz and Goddard. And the problem is when these tight ends get hurt, it's not like other positions. Like a running back gets hurt and it's good for somebody else. When a tight end gets hurt, if they don't have a talented tight end, the Lions traded Hawkinson. Nobody steps up at that position. We're losing so many tight end starters. It's just killing the fantasy landscape. Also, the Chargers get their tight end back too, Everett. So make sure he may be floating around on a waiver wire. Maybe he can bail you out. And then there's teams like the Colts, right? They use 3 tight ends, so you can't start any of them.
Yeah, the carousel thing always becomes an absolute pain in the ass. It usually happens more with running backs on certain teams that they have the carousel deal going on. But when you have it with tight ends like that, I mean,
another desperation play if you're super desperate. It's too bad we didn't talk a couple days ago. I might have given you Hunter Henry. Should have had 2 touchdowns last night. maybe Taysom Hill in New Orleans. I know for about 4 or 5 weeks he didn't get used, but the Saints have come out and said we screwed this up. We should have been using him more. He got a lot of activity last week. Again, the Niners defense is starting to look nasty again, and that game could get out of hand. But I think this will be a game where Taysom Hill gets in maybe 15 snaps. And remember, when he's on the field, he's the guy touching the ball.
Give me a couple guys you want to stay away from this week.
Man, the rest of the Saints, really, you have to play Olave. Alvin Kamara in a keeper league, I'd be trying to trade him. I think he's going to get suspended next year. I don't like the look of that. And you look at the Rams, I think the Rams have the worst fantasy offense right now. They're down to a third-string quarterback. I don't trust any of their running backs. I'm not playing Robinson. I would not like to play Tyler Higbee. I mean, again, at tight end, you might be forced back into that corner. And Dameon Pierce has been really good to us, but as a 2-touchdown underdog, and last week we saw him bottom out, I would play Jeff Wilson over Dameon Pierce without even thinking about it. There's just one illustration of how I would play that.
All right, let me. I thought about this question. I'm not in this position, but I got a buddy of mine that is in this position. He's got Geno Smith, and so he goes and trades his backup quarterback, which he had a pretty good backup quarterback. So he gets rid of his backup quarterback, and I go to him because he needed a running back badly. And I said, "Are you sure Geno's going to carry you all the way?" And he goes, "Well, he's been phenomenal." Would you count on Geno Smith all the way through your playoffs? Or if you have Geno Smith and you're riding this hot hand, how important is it to have that backup quarterback just in case Geno Smith becomes the Geno Smith we all used to know?
This is where you have to calibrate your waiver wire, and you have to go and look right now at the quarterbacks and ask yourself, are there 4 or 5 guys I'd be fine with if Geno Smith get hurt this week? And remember, everybody playing in week 12. There's a couple teams off in week 13. There are 6 teams that don't play in week 14. So there's going to be a lot of shuffling in your league, and people are going to have to make moves. You want to be a week ahead of that stuff. So what I would probably do, I'm fine to play Smith this week. I think Seattle's actually a really good bet too. I don't know why they're only giving 3.5 points in that game, but I think next week, before the 6 teams on bye in week 14, is maybe when you ensure your Geno Smith bet and try to get that spare tire that you hope you don't have to use, but you may need for 100 miles.
I mean, that to me, I would be a little bit worried carrying Geno Smith all the way through. It was. I mean, okay, Derek Carr is a pretty good quarterback, and I know you need a running back, but I just was like, damn, dude, and so I forgot who he picked up off the waiver wire to kind of fill in, and I was just like, I get it, he's played well, but
we all know the it's a snow globe league. It's a very fluid league, and the way we feel about players now could be radically different from how we feel about them in the fantasy playoffs. It's just the nature of the game.
All right, what are you working on in Yahoo so folks can check you out this week, my friend?
Yeah, I put out my sleepers on Wednesday. Of course, we have our extensive staff rankings you can check out at any time. And on Sunday, Fantasy Football Live, our flagship show, the final hour before kickoff. Get your questions answered by me at Yahoo Fantasy. I'm going to do some picks today too. I mentioned Seattle was a game that I like. We're over 60% against the spread, so we're trying to put a couple bucks in your pocket that way. Want you in the playoffs, man. Just get in. You don't have to have the best team. Just get in, do some damage. December again. Who's to say? We could be starting Jeff Wilson. Who knows? He could be the December to remember player. It's totally possible, man. He was somebody people were cutting when McCaffrey was traded to the Niners, and now he's in the pilot's chair. So you have to stay on top of this stuff. You have to be vigilant. Just get in the playoffs. We'll try to take.
I think he plays like a number 1 back this week. I do. I know he's like a number 2 or a flex normally because everybody usually has running backs, but I think whoever has Jeff Wilson this week is going to love freaking life, dude, because the Dolphins kind of got their running game going last week, and now they're playing again against another team that's really bad against the run. And right now, Robert Jones and Brandon Shell at left guard and right tackle have kind of solidified the line, and they're playing the best that they've played. And I think this is one of those games where, last week they worked on the running game against Cleveland. This week they'll do it on Houston, because I think for the next couple of weeks, you're going to need that running game going into the winter. So I just think that the Dolphins are kind of clicking at the right time with the running game. And this is a week where if you own Jeff Wilson, I think you're going to bank, dude.
Yeah, I'll give you another state of Florida running back who's in a really good spot. I like Rashid. It's not as clean as Wilson because Wilson's going to have more opportunity. I think this could be the week that Rachaad White becomes the primary back in Tampa Bay. And they're playing Cleveland. Talk about a team that can't stop the run. They can't stop a nosebleed right now. Just had their bye week. And a lot of times we see rookies take a step forward in the second half of their rookie year. Okay, we've seen a lot with receivers, right? I mean, look at how well Watson has played lately. Look at what Traylon Burks has done. He went over 100 yards in the last Tennessee game. So you look at the rookies taking a step up in the second half of the year. I think Rachaad White in Tampa Bay, they're not – if Fournette doesn't show much, they're going to play the hot hand. He's got the younger leg. He was 6 or 7 years younger, whatever it is. And Cleveland's run defense is atrocious. I would play Rachaad White pretty confidently, not over Jeff Wilson, but I think Rachaad White's a starter for a lot of fantasy rosters this week.
NFL South and NFL North. My God, those are bad divisions. All right, follow him on Twitter at Scott_Pianowski and catch his exceptional work there at Yahoo Fantasy. Scotty, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up next week, my friend, and happy Thanksgiving.
Great to talk to you, and enjoy talking a little rock and roll, which is always welcome. Anytime you want to go down that path. And remember what Tom Petty once said. He said, most of the things he worries about never happen anyway. So, try to keep it in perspective. Don't let the anxiety get to you. We worry about things, but most of those things never happen anyway. Let's get you in the playoffs.
Amen. Scotty, thank you, my brother. Have a great weekend, my friend. There you go. Scott Pianowski. 7 amazing locations at Sports Grill, $1.50 Bud Light bottles and draft during the NCAA and NFL games. Oh, and last time I checked, isn't there an NCAA game going on tonight? Yes, there's one going on tonight. I think Florida State are playing tonight on Friday night. Well, guess what? If you're a Gators or a Seminole fan, you can get out to one of the 7 great locations, enjoy the new cocktails that are only $5 during those games, the cherry lemonade, the tailgate tea, bone-in wings, 15% off, $12 domestic pitchers. The hot sauces are available for you to take home. The buffalo sauce, the Miami Heat, the blackberry, the barbecue, the Dale. Doral is coming soon. I'm hearing December 1st. Kendall locations. On Mondays, they've got the milkshakes and the rock and roll music playing, baby, all day long. Mondays, they got the $7 smash burger. Tuesdays, the $2 tacos, chicken, beef, or fish. And Wednesdays, the kids eat free with the purchase of an adult entree. I just had some special grilled wings the other day. I love it. Sports Grill. That's your Sports Grill fantasy football zone.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.